It is the start of 2026. The world is watching a big problem. President Donald Trump wants to buy Greenland. Greenland is a very large island. This wish is now a serious international crisis. It could break the NATO alliance. President Trump has used threats. He talks about economic fights and even military power. This is not a funny idea anymore. It is a big test for how countries work together in the world. President Trump has reasons for wanting Greenland. He thinks it is important for America's safety. He also believes there are many valuable things hidden under the ice, worth trillions of dollars. And some people say he has a personal reason, a deep, old anger. We will learn more about all these reasons in the next parts of this story. But why is this huge, cold island, with only a small number of people, so important? Why would a very powerful country risk a world conflict to own it? The real answers are hidden deep under its ice. They are also high above in the Arctic sky. 2. A good place. Greenland is a very large island. It sits in a special place between Europe and North America. This location makes it important for armies and defense. The United States already has a key military base there called Pituffik Space Base. This base helps guard America. It watches for missile attacks that could come from the north. Around 150 American service members work at Pituffik, helping with missile warnings and space surveillance. This base is vital for protecting against threats in the Arctic region. But there is another big reason why President Donald Trump is very interested in Greenland. Under the island's thick ice, there is much untouched natural wealth. Greenland holds many important minerals, especially rare earth elements. These special elements are crucial for today's technology. They are needed to make electric cars, wind turbines, smartphones, and even advanced military equipment. Experts believe Greenland might have the second largest amount of these rare earth elements in the world after China. Today, many countries like the United States depend on other nations for these critical materials. Having its own source of rare earths would make America stronger. However, getting these minerals out of Greenland is extremely difficult and expensive. Much of the land is covered by a thick sheet of ice. There are no roads or railways in many places. Mining in the Arctic can cost many times more than in other parts of the world. While the total value of these minerals could be in the trillions of dollars, only a small part might ever be taken out. This makes people ask, is this treasure real, or is it just a very expensive idea to hide a bigger plan? The United States has been interested in buying Greenland for over 150 years. So why has this old idea suddenly become so urgent and dangerous now? What old problems are being forgotten in this sudden rush? 3. The long history.
Greenland has a long history with Denmark. Denmark's link to the island started with Norse people settling there around the year 980. These Norse settlements lasted for many centuries. After they were gone, the Inuit people, who came from North America, lived alone on the island for over 200 years. Then, in 1721, Europeans came back. After World War II, Denmark changed Greenland's status. In 1953, Greenland became a county within Denmark. But the people of Greenland wanted more say in their own future. They wanted to govern themselves. Because of this desire for self-rule, Denmark gave Greenland home rule in 1979. This meant Greenland got its own parliament and could make decisions about many local matters. Later, in 2009, a new law gave Greenland even more freedom. Denmark still handled foreign affairs and defense, and Greenland used the Danish krone money. This 2009 law also said that Greenland could become fully independent, but this would need a vote from the Greenlandic people and approval from the Danish parliament. Becoming independent is a big step. Greenland's economy is not large, and it depends a lot on fishing. Denmark gives Greenland a large amount of money each year, about 3.9 billion kroner. This money pays for half of Greenland's government needs. So Greenlandic people have a dream of full independence.
They are proud of their culture and want to choose their own path. However, they also need Denmark's money to keep their society working well. This creates a careful balance. Most Greenlanders want independence, but not if it means a worse life. They prefer to stay with Denmark rather than join the United States. They were slowly moving towards their future with Denmark, but halfway across the world, a sudden and violent American military operation was about to shatter this fragile peace and prove that Trump's new foreign policy had no room for delicacy. 4. The big threat. The world watched as tensions grew. Early in 2026, the United States military did something surprising. On January 3rd, American forces made a sudden move in Venezuela. They launched an operation called Absolute Resolute. Special soldiers captured President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. They took them to New York City to face charges. This action showed the world that President Donald Trump was serious. His threats were not just words anymore. He was willing to use military power to get what he wanted. Soon after the Venezuela operation, a clear message appeared online. Katie Miller, whose husband worked for President Trump, posted a picture. It showed the American flag over Greenland. The words "soon" were written on it. This made Danish officials very angry.
It also made everyone understand that Trump's interest in Greenland was now a real and dangerous military threat, not just a strange idea. Then, on January 18th, President Trump made another big move. On his social media platform, Truth Social, he announced new tariffs. Starting on February 1st, countries like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland would pay 10% extra on their goods sent to the United States. This tariff would increase to 25% by June 1st. President Trump clearly linked these high tariffs to Greenland. He said they would stay until a deal was made for the United States to buy Greenland completely. He added that these tariffs were because European allies had sent soldiers to Greenland for a Danish military exercise. President Trump called this a very dangerous situation. He had used America's great power to pressure allies. The world waited to see how Europe would respond to such strong actions. 5. Europe says no. The European countries reacted quickly and with one voice. They would not accept President Donald Trump's threats. Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, spoke very clearly. She warned that if America attacked Greenland, it would be an attack on Denmark. And because Denmark is part of NATO, an attack on Denmark would be an attack on all NATO countries. This meant that other countries in NATO would have to help Denmark fight back against America. Prime Minister Frederiksen said such an act would end NATO itself. Leaders from across Europe met in Brussels very quickly. Ambassadors from the European Union held an emergency meeting. They all agreed to stand together. 8 European countries made a special statement. They said that Trump's threats about tariffs would hurt the good relationship between Europe and America. They warned of a dangerous situation. but they also said they would stay united and work together to respond. France's President Emmanuel Macron suggested a strong economic plan. He asked Europe to use something called the trade bazooka. This is a special legal tool that Europe had made in 2023. It helps to protect European countries when non-EU countries try to use money or trade to force them to do something. This tool was first thought of for countries like China, but now Europe was thinking of using it against America. This showed how serious the situation was, and it was a completely new step. Other leaders also showed their concern. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said it was completely wrong to put tariffs on allies for trying to keep all NATO countries safe. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also disagreed with putting tariffs on countries that help with Greenland's security. This strong, united message from Europe was quite rare. This moment made many people think about NATO's main rule, Article 5.
This rule says that if one member is attacked, all members must help. But what happens when the attacker is the strongest member of the group, America? This made the future of NATO very unclear. It was a big problem for the alliance, and its very existence would need more thought later. Europe had shown a very strong and united front against President Trump's threats. But while important politicians talked and warned each other, another group of people was also speaking up. The 56,000 people who lived on Greenland, the island at the center of this big storm, were making sure their voices were heard. 6. The People's Island. Greenland's capital, Nuuk, saw many people come together. They walked in the streets to show they were not happy. Their main message was clear: we are not for sale. About 1/4 of Nuuk's people took part in these big protests. They were all against the idea of the United States taking their home. The people of Greenland wanted everyone to know that their island was theirs alone. Greenlandic leaders spoke out too. Premier Mute Borup Egede said, "Greenland is ours. We are not for sale and will never be for sale." He spoke about their long fight for freedom. Another leader, Aja Chemnitz, who is a member of parliament, also raised her voice. She said Greenlanders have fought for many years to speak for themselves. She felt people were treating Greenlanders as if they were not real people.
The crisis made Greenlanders feel very vulnerable. Usually, they could count on Denmark to protect them. But now, with threats from a strong ally, their path to independence seemed harder. Many wondered if full freedom was still a good idea, if it meant facing powerful countries alone. Far away in Washington, D.C., President Trump's plan also met problems. Many people in the US Congress did not agree with him. Both Democrats and Republicans spoke against taking Greenland by force. Some lawmakers, like Bill Keating and Don Bacon, even made a new law proposal. This law would stop money from being used to invade any NATO country or its land. Republican Senator Roger Wicker told President Trump to stop talking about seizing Greenland. He said it was not a good idea to anger friends. Another Republican, Senator Mitch McConnell, said that using force would harm America's standing in the world. He called it a catastrophic act. Democrats, like Senator Chris Murphy, warned that if the U.S. attacked Greenland, other NATO countries would have to defend it. So there was strong opposition everywhere. Greenlanders said no, European countries said no, and many U.S. politicians said no. It seemed like no one could move forward. The situation was stuck. But deep under the ice in the Arctic, things were changing. The melting ice was opening new ways across the ocean. These changes in the Arctic could soon make the whole situation very different. 7. A new Cold War. President Donald Trump viewed the push to acquire Greenland as a crucial part of a new Cold War. He believed it was necessary for the safety of the United States. He often spoke about China and Russia expanding their presence in the Arctic. Trump argued that if the U.S. did not get Greenland, then these rival powers would. He said that the United States could not allow China or Russia to become its neighbors in such a strategic area. This idea turned the quiet island into a major battleground for global power. Trump saw Greenland as a shield and a key point in this growing world competition. A silent force behind this new conflict was climate change. The Arctic region was warming much faster than other parts of the world. This warming caused the thick ice to melt at an alarming rate. As the ice melted, new shipping lanes opened up, especially the Northwest Passage and the Transpolar Sea Route. These routes could cut travel time for ships moving between Asia and Europe, making them very important for trade and military movements. Also, the melting ice made it easier to reach Greenland's vast stores of valuable minerals. These rare earth elements and other resources, once hidden deep under the ice, were now more accessible than ever before. Climate change was truly reshaping the world map and increasing Greenland's importance. This crisis put a great strain on the NATO alliance. NATO was built on the idea that members protect each other. But now, the most powerful member, the United States, was acting aggressively towards Denmark, another member. This situation made European leaders question the very existence of NATO. If an ally could threaten another, what was the point of the alliance? Experts from defense colleges openly wondered if NATO could survive such a challenge. They even had to consider how NATO countries might defend Denmark if the United States took military action. This was a completely new and worrying situation for the alliance, pushing it to its breaking point. The old rules of cooperation seemed to be falling apart, forcing NATO to think about its own survival. With diplomatic discussions failing and strong threats from President Trump still present, the world felt a deep tension. It was like a game of chess where all the important pieces were now in position. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the next big move in this dangerous new Cold War that centered on the large, icy island of Greenland. The outcome would surely change global relations for many years to come. 8. The last day. The high-stakes standoff for Greenland had reached its final day. President Donald Trump still strongly wanted the large island. He said America needed it for security and its rich minerals. But Denmark, which governs Greenland, refused to sell. The people of Greenland also said a clear no, protesting loudly that their home was not for sale.
President Donald Trump had used powerful tools to get his way. He put new high taxes, known as tariffs, on goods from Denmark and other European allies. He also hinted at using military force. This made many in Europe deeply concerned. They saw it as a challenge to their friendship with America and to the NATO alliance itself. European nations, led by Denmark, united to resist, even discussing economic responses. The future held three possible paths. First, careful talks might lead to a diplomatic agreement, perhaps allowing more U.S. military presence without actual purchase. Second, a severe trade war across the Atlantic could begin, causing wide economic damage. Third, A military conflict, though unthinkable between NATO friends, remained a feared possibility. The main problem was simple. President Donald Trump wanted to control Greenland. Against this stood Denmark's firm belief in its right to keep its land and Greenland's deep desire for self-determination. Regardless of the next step, the crisis had already caused lasting damage. The strong ties holding the Western alliance together were now much weaker. Important questions about the international order also appeared. How would countries trust each other? What happens when a superpower challenges the sovereignty of an ally? The old ways seemed broken. If you were a Greenlander, would you vote for full independence now, even if it meant facing a world of superpowers alone?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world.